all, and welcome back to the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Carter.
I'm your host, Cody Vanciolello.
Whew, Cody, that was a very fun game. The Cyclones win by 19, but the score, like this score, is not indicative of how really much of a blowout this game was. At one point, the Cyclones were almost up by like 27 at one point, but Utah or not, Jesus, sorry, Baylor went on a run like the last 10 minutes of the game, but it honestly really didn't matter at all. Um, so what are your thoughts on that?
Um, well, in the first half of the game, it was like a by halftime it was an 8 point deficit. But if you're an Iowa State fan, you never felt like the game was in question because the defense was just doing so well. They held Baylor overall to 29% shooting from the field and
Hmm.
24% shooting from three. Now that is way below the average of Baylor, and Baylor's usually like one of they're like that them and Iowa State. They're like the two best offenses in the Big 12. But Iowa State's defense proves to just be overwhelming against Baylor, and Baylor did not have a great game shooting the basketball, and it's very like against like their character. I mean, you had Norchat Omier only go 1 of 7 from three. Jeremy Roach was 4 of 7 from three. A couple of those did come in like late in garbage time, so that might be a little misleading. But I mean, you still had solid production from Jeremy Roach and Josh Ojianwuna, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But those two were producing, and then you also had Robert Wright, the third, come out of the bench with 10 points. But outside of that, Baylor was way below their average when it comes to production. And for Iowa State, you had a balance. Like, once again, you saw a really good balance of points from your aim man rotation. Obviously, Keyshawn Gilbert led the way with 16 points, but you saw a nice game out of Milan Momcilovic. He went 4 of 7 from three for 15 points and hit a couple free throws. And so did Joshua Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson. They were 75% from the free throw line. Keyshawn Gilbert was 4 of 6 from the free throw line. So it's still something to work on. The free throws are something that still need to work on, but the defense was really what was giving Iowa State a lot of good chances to really keep Baylor at bay.
The defense was elite, man. Like it is the pressure that they had. Baylor couldn't handle it, man. And one of the funny stats of the game, I don't know if and this was on the TV broadcast. I believe it said like 14 misses, and then it said the number of the degrees outside 14. So I was like,
Oh,
man,
oh, that graphic. Oh, yeah. That was the graphic when it said it was cold outside and inside, where it was at one point where Baylor was 14 to 52. And it
that's
was
what it was.
14,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was 14 degrees out. So yeah, good thing we have basketball now, so that we don't have to worry about freezing my ass off at an Iowa State sporting event.
Yeah. I'm glad it's not at a football game. Jeez. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man. Joshua Jefferson, man, continues just to prove that he is the glue for this team, man. He has made such a difference and is that inside presence that Iowa State has needed and that what we've been looking for.
Mm-hmm. I mean, once again, yeah, Joshua Jefferson continues to be one of the best bigs, and I mean, we've seen the comparison of him being compared to like the best like four since Royce White with the way he's able to score and distribute the ball. And then just recently, it was announced that Joshua Jefferson once again won Big 12 Newcomer of the Week. So he's continuing to get those individual accolades, but it's a great spark for Iowa State, who kind of that was the thing that Iowa State needs is bigs who can score the ball, because that was like the one thing that was a weakness, and we mentioned this repeatedly. But it shows you the importance of having strong bigs that can score the ball. Without it, you can't really go as far because you were kind of limited with your scoring options. Because obviously, the first year TJ, uh, if you had either Tyrese Hunter or Isaiah Brockton go cold, you needed to just play so well on defense. You would win games by like 47 to 38 or things like that. And if you were being boat raced, you didn't really have much of a chance to really keep up in the boat race. But Iowa State can do that, but also they continue to have that great defense where they can win a slugfest, and that's something that this team has proven that can be a way for them to get to the Final Four is winning in multiple ways. We saw in the Colorado game that was a kind of a slugfest. You were just back and forth, and you needed to gut out a win. Here against Baylor, you were in a you were the ones that were ahead in the boat race. You never Baylor was never back in the boat race at all. You just took the ball, you took the lead from the start, and you never really gave it up.
Right. And one of the other things I like is that they can all and something that I haven't seen with this Iowa State basketball team in my time watching them is that they can play any type of style. They can play that fast tempo type of style that Auburn likes to play. We lost by a basket there, and like you said, the other two instances, playing slow or just playing slow down, we can play that too. We can outrun a team, outgun a team, and I just wanted to bring up few other points real quick. First point is I looked at the numbers, the bigs for us, all three, Chatfield, Jackson, and Jefferson. They scored a total of 19 points for us during this game. So like you said, during a Final Four run, everyone needs to contribute, and the fact that the big three has had 19 points. Our bigs had 19 points. That's a great sign, man. And Brant Chatfield is just continuing to emerge as a guy who we can count on for a basket and play elite defense and show great effort out there.
hmm I mean, for Branson Chatfield, he continues to get you a couple of offensive rebounds. I mean, he had four total rebounds and two of them being offensive, and it led to one of them led to a tip in two, and then the other led to a foul. So, I mean, if you can get guys that can consistently like be down in the paint, get you offensive rebounds, get you second chance points, those will be the kind of plays that can separate you in March.
Definitely. Yeah, man. So with that, I think we're going to put Baylor in the rearview mirror. I do want to talk about today's matchup with Utah.
hmm
I'm gonna go and do that. We're gonna look at Utah. And I realized this was a home game. I don't know why I thought it was an away game, but
You might have been
yeah,
thinking about the Texas Tech game, perhaps.
that's probably what it was. Yeah,
hmm Yeah, because now in with this new Big 12, you don't have really a bye week. You got like these 2 games a week type of deal. So I mean, we saw last week with Colorado and Baylor. Now you get Utah and Texas Tech, and right with the schedule. I mean, I'm looking at our schedule here. After this Utah game,
hmm
um, you probably get you actually might you get a pretty decent stretch for Iowa State because after this Utah game, you go to at Texas Tech on Saturday, then you host Kansas next Wednesday, then you're at West Virginia. You do get to host UCF, so that's kind of a break. You do go to the Arizona schools, which I mean, the a trip to Arizona is never easy, but I mean, those are two beatable teams. Then you end this stretch with a home game versus Kansas State and at Allen Fieldhouse.
yeah. So I think for me, this 3 game stretch coming up after Utah is gonna be crucial, man. It's gonna be crucial. Like this is gonna tell me if this team is, is this team, if we really think that this team is going to go to the Final Four, or if they're as good as we think, these are the type of games that we need to win, man. Like going on the road against Tech, it's going to be tough, but we got to go out there, win it. I think this team has a mentality like even Keyshawn, Milan, they are all locked in right now. I don't think I've ever seen a team this locked in. So I am very confident that the team will get it done. But I mean, we gotta see West Virginia now, like with the way that they've been playing lately. I'm interested to see how they respond going to West Virginia, which has always been a tough place for Iowa State to play. And obviously KU beat UCF by 51 points, which is insane. Everybody's been questioning Kansas, but with them, I mean, I'm very excited to see our bigs against Hunter Dickinson.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be them and then Zeke Mayo. He could get hot, so
Yeah, I mean,
that's gonna be a great matchup next week, man. I'm looking forward to the KU game.
mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, before that, obviously, we have to talk about Utah, and then we might as well talk about Texas Tech a little bit while we're here. I mean, this Utah team. I mean, I watched their game against Texas Tech. It was at home, and oh boy, they did not look impressive. They Texas Tech was getting just about whatever they wanted against Utah. Texas Tech went 58.6% from the field. They were 46% from three. They only committed 5 turnovers, and I mean they were pretty even on rebounding. But I mean, looking here, I guess your best players like in that game, those were off the bench. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you had Zach Keller, Keanu Dawes, and Jake Wallen go for double digit points. Meanwhile, your starting five in that game um, didn't even crack double digits. The closest you got was former Baylor Bear Caleb Lohner with 9 points in 20 minutes. I mean, Mason Madsen had 12. He had 12 minutes, but he didn't. He only got 2 rebounds in that game. Only put up 1 3. So he was pretty shut down by the Texas Tech defense. And then Mike Sharov Jamps, number 25 for them, had 26 minutes. He went 3 of 10 from the field, only 8 points. So I I just don't know. Like I can't you can't underestimate anyone in the Big 12, but
Yeah,
nothing jumps out to me as impressive outside of Gabe Madsen, perhaps, because he's their best offensive player, putting up 16.5 points per game with a 42% 7% field goal shooting. So I don't know what I can't exactly gauge Utah because I mean they're in a 3 game losing streak. They lost against Iowa, and then they lost at Baylor 81-56, and then lost versus Texas Tech 93-65. So I don't know. This should be like Iowa State as long as they continue to play their brand of basketball. They should be able to take care of business against Utah and really get things like iron things out before you have to go to Texas Tech.
definitely, man. This is a game where you should iron things out. This really game shouldn't really be a struggle at all. Obviously, some like Iowa State fans that are worried and are nervous wrecks will be like, "Man, this is a classic game that Iowa State loses." But like, we got to come in with the mentality. I don't think TJ is gonna have. I think TJ is gonna have these boys ready to play. I do think like if this game was 2 years ago, this is definitely a game that we would lose.
Hmm.
But I think with the talent that we have, I don't think that we lose this game. I just think, like I said, I think they're locked in on another level. So I
Hmm.
think that we win this game, going away by a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, to talk about 2 years ago, this does give me a little reminder of the Oklahoma State game at Hilton from 2 years ago when when that team got swept. I think yeah, it's a matter of the talent disparity, but also just yeah, just the the championship level mentality that the guys have because in even these press conferences, you see the way that Deshaun Jackson, Keyshawn Gilbert, Milan Motilovich, and Curtis Jones, how they talk about like preparations and things like that. So they've all bought into TJ. They've all bought into the coaching that's gone on at Iowa State. So even with I mean, Keyshawn Gilbert even said like the way they beat Baylor. Keyshawn Gilbert said that was just like business as usual. They didn't
Hmm.
really like celebrate over that. They expect to win these games, and that's what you'd like to see out of your team. You should come out and you expect to win these games. So for them to do that against Baylor, I believe that they might do worse against. They might put a worse ass whooping on Utah than they get against Baylor.
I agree.
So and and just the way like Curtis Jones, even his press conference says, he winning is fun. Like to quote him, like he knows, like he wants to win a lot of time, actually every time. So that's what he said. Like that's what kind of gives them the chip on their shoulders. Like they don't want to experience that feeling of losing because that's never fun. So if they keep preparing the way they are, the boys are gonna have a lot of fun.
I'm just saying, like, I love that mentality. Business as usual. Winning is fun. Losing suck. Like, this is the team that we have wanted, man. Like, this is something that more than I could have asked for this team. Now let's you can say all that, but let's go and see. Let's see if they can go out and do it. I think they're definitely capable. I mean, and with every game we win, man, like the more delusional I become.
Yeah.
But
But I mean, there is substance. Like we've
right,
seen that we've proven that we can win on the road against a tough team like Iowa. I mean that's never a fun environment to play in. Like that's never a fun
mm-hmm.
arena to play against. And then you go at Colorado and you face some adversity there. So we'll see what this team is built like when they go on the road to like the Arizona schools, at West Virginia, at Houston for that matter, at
At
Kansas State.
Houston, at K State, yeah,
But
at the Fog, man.
hmm But I mean, according to Ken Palm, we are projected like our only projected loss on Ken Palm is at Houston. So the metrics, the analytics are really favoring Iowa State um, with their play. So they really like this Iowa State team. I mean, being top 10 in offense and defense is
Mm-hmm.
that gets you a lot. And I mean, Brent Bloom the other day said I think it was either on Twitter or on their podcast. They talked about like the last two national champions being UConn. They were top 10 in offense and defense on Ken Palm. So Iowa State, if they continue this trend, they look to be a contender to win the national championship. And we talk about if I want to talk about contenders on national stage, I mean this slate today is going to be really fun. Like there's a good amount of games, top 25 matches to look out for, and
Yeah,
top 10 matchups.
share that screen with us. Let's look
Yeah,
at it.
yeah. So obviously, some people have like contested about like where teams were. I mean, the AP poll came out, nothing changed in the top three. You still had Tennessee number one, Auburn number two, Iowa State number three. We can go into that later, but yeah, here the schedule for today. You have a top 10 SEC matchup between the Tennessee Volunteers and the Florida Gators at the Stephen O'Connell Center in Gainesville.
Hey, man, the Stephen O'Connell Center, man. That when Florida is good, they're rocking. Florida, I need you to do a favor for me, man. Beat those nasty volunteers for me, please,
Mhm.
please. I am begging you.
I mean, Florida being a 3.5 point favorite. I mean, they're coming off a loss against Kentucky in a high scoring shootout. So I think Florida's going to come in with that loss. They're going to be a little sour from that loss, and they're going to want to avenge it. And why not? There's not a better chance to do it than beating the number one team in the country and what still the only undefeated team in all uh,
Mm-hmm.
college basketball, Tennessee.
Yep.
Now, the argument for Tennessee being number one, there's two sides to it. Obviously, you have them still being undefeated, so you can't really knock them for being undefeated. But also, if you look at their schedule, they are not exactly like a top caliber team when you look at what they do on the court. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, many people there's a consensus talking about the top three teams in the country. Tennessee is not included in that. It's people. Many people have had Auburn, Duke, and Iowa State in their top three. And
Right.
then in the second tier, right below them, you have Alabama, Marquette, and Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be an opportunity for Tennessee to prove that they do, in fact, belong in that number one spot.
Yeah, and I think with Duke, I think they might have a little bit of a test tonight with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has been pretty pesky this year.
hmm And they want to avenge that loss at Cameron Indoor from last year. Was it the celebration from former Iowa State Cyclone Blake Henson or whatever?
Yep.
That dude, oh god, I remember watching them like, I kind of wish we had him on our squad, but hey, I'll take what we have right now.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
hmm
And then look, this is a very very weird line. Look at if you want to look at the college at West Virginia, Arizona. Arizona on the road is a 3.5 point favorite.
Hmm. I'm guessing that Arizona's metrics, like even though they haven't had a really the best of year so far, they're still a solid team. Like I think Arizona, they're starting to catch fire. I mean, they had that win over a ranked Cincinnati squad, and I think that has given the Arizona some momentum, and they can come into West Virginia. And now with West Virginia, there's like an indefinite status as to whether Tucker DeVries is going to come back or not because I heard
Right.
because he still hasn't came back fully from his injury. But I mean, in the meantime, Javon Small has stepped up, and so has Joe Yesufu.
Yeah, with all these former Drake players, it's gonna be interesting to see how West Virginia, with these former Drake players, how they adjust to the Big 12 schedule.
hmm I mean. Yeah, so that'll be huge to look at. And then number two, Auburn. They'll go to. I'm just scrolling through here, just some top matchups. Obviously, have the number two team in the country, Auburn, traveling to the Moody Center to take on the Texas Longhorns. They're a 10.5 point favorite. I think Auburn, like, they're going to continue their role and they're going to take care of business at the Moody Center. This Texas team is not the same one that we saw from 2 years ago, or the Chris Beard led teams.
Right. Yeah. So they may be a little step below what they were with Chris Beard. Another one that's right below Utah, Iowa State. That's which I think can be interesting. Georgetown Marquette.
Mm-hmm.
Georgetown has had a pretty good start this year. I wonder if they could give Marquette some trouble.
I mean, yeah, you look at that 12.5 point line. I mean, Marquette obviously has Cam Jones, who's undoubtedly like a candidate for the Wooden Award. So, I mean, if Cam Jones continues to perform like he has like throughout the year and continues to make those huge plays, Marquette can take care of business against Georgetown. But I think this game will be closer than expected, given how Georgetown has improved from last season.
Completely agree.
Let's see what else here. You've got a top 25 matchup between Michigan, UCLA. I mean, let's see if UCLA can continue its revival into being a viable basketball program, or can Michigan like get back on track after some not so great years?
Yeah. They're back on track. With what was the coach's name for UCLA? Or you? It was
Or
not Florida Atlantic. That's what it was.
oh yeah, I don't remember his name. Oh yeah, the one. Wait, the coach who
Dusty.
took FAU to the Final Four, or
Yeah,
Dusty May?
yeah, Dusty May. Yeah, Dusty May did
Yay.
a great job, and he's the coach at Michigan now. He's doing a great job there. So let's see if he can continue to complete it. And Mississippi State, man, they're also having a good year this year too. They're on the road at Vanderbilt.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that the SEC as a whole has like so many like very good teams. Like if I look at the SEC, we can just briefly look at this real fast. And I mean, yeah, you've got a couple of great matches, obviously headlined by that top 10 matchup. But I mean, the SEC has a lot of teams that are vying for a tournament, and some people are projecting them to have at least 10 teams in to March Madness, which I kind of wouldn't be surprised about. But we'll see how this conference slate plays. And for the Big 12, there were a couple matchups that we haven't mentioned yet. All these will be on ESPN Plus, by the way, with the time slated right here. These are our local times, so they may be different depending on where you're listening to this from. But you also have Cincinnati at Baylor. Both teams are looking to rebound after some losses. Cincinnati having a not great loss at home, and then Baylor obviously are getting ass blasted by the Cyclones. So
Hmm.
we'll see how that goes. And can Cincinnati get back on track? Because I mean, Cincinnati was preseason projected to be a top team of the Big 12, and then up to this point, they haven't really lived up to the hype. But we'll see what they do at the Foster Pavilion. You also have Kansas State traveling to Stillwater to take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Oh boy, this Oklahoma State team has just been ugly.
But look who is the favorite. Oklahoma State is a 2.5 point favorite. That's crazy. That's probably been a minute since they've been a favorite in a basketball game.
Hold on.
Like,
I saw what was it? Cole Converse or somebody said on Twitter.
yeah,
It
it
was
was
like the
Cole.
first, yeah, for the first time post COVID, Oklahoma State is a favorite in a Big 12 basketball game. How bad do you have to be projected to be the underdog against Oklahoma State?
It's insane, bro. Like those, yeah, they used to be such a respectable program.
Oh,
I don't
oh
know.
yeah, yeah. Was it the Marcus Smart era?
Yeah,
I mean, even with Kate Cunningham, that was still a respectable program.
right.
God, I still remember. I still remember from time to time watching like was it the Naslong buzzer beater tying three? Was that against Oklahoma State
That
or
was
was?
against Oklahoma State. Yeah, I
Oh,
believe it was it Keaton Page?
maybe.
Yeah, Keaton Page. I think he missed it, and then that was
Oh, the
when
the
me and Eric were in college. Yeah, the 2013. That was the
oh
2013.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. We missed what was it? The free throw?
Yeah, they missed a free throw, and then Nas hit it to take it to overtime,
Mm-hmm.
and then we won in overtime. And then
Jeez,
yeah, both
that's
those games went to overtime that year. We
mm-hmm.
won at Gallagher Iva, and then
Mm.
we won in overtime
Yeah,
there.
I will say the seating in that, like with that being so close. Oh, I wish I could have been like at like in the student section at that time when it was just so much closer. But I'm not complaining at
It
all.
was a
I'm not mad
crazy
at all.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
volleyball was a crazy time,
Jeez. Yeah.
man.
And then we get Texas Tech at BYU. Now BYU, obviously they're still a solid roster. They're not the same roster that we saw last year under Mark Pope. Obviously that's gonna happen when you have a coaching change and you get a couple players like Lee that were under like Mark Pope and that followed him. So,
Yeah,
but
go ahead, bro.
yeah, I mean, you hire a coach like, and I mean, what I've heard from BYU is that they have a coaching staff that like they have a bunch of assistants that have experience in the NBA. So what I'm looking at out of this BYU program is they're preparing their guys for not just life in basketball, but life outside of basketball, and then how to get like, and then how you get yourself a chance to get to the NBA. That's what I'm hearing from the camp in Provo. But correct me on that.
Yeah. So I know like people in Provo didn't feel good about the loss um to Houston. But like I also reminded him like you guys Houston is you gotta remember Houston won the league last year. Houston knows what it takes. It took him a while to move on from Jamal Shed, but Houston is in form now. Like
Mm-hmm.
they are battle tested. Like you said, they lost to two of the top six teams in 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 the nation. So
Mm-hmm.
Houston is rolling into form right now.
Yeah, they're riding. Yeah, I mean Houston's riding a 7 game win streak. So I mean yesterday they took care of business against TCU. They shot 42. Like, they held. Like we talk about defense, Houston's defense on this night was crazy. They held TCU to 16.7% shooting from the perimeter. They held them a 3 of 18.
What?
No,
That's disgusting.
uh-huh. They forced 19 turnovers. Now, Houston turned the ball over 10 times, but they forced 19 turnovers against TCU, and they scored 16 points off of turnovers. So that defense is still there. They still
Oh,
have one of the best defenses in the country.
I am so looking forward to that matchup on
Oh,
February 22nd, man.
at
Oh
the
man,
yeah, at the Fertitta Center. Oh no.
it's gonna be nuts. It's probably gonna be something close to what like last year's game was, except that we have a better offense. But
Yeah, I mean it's just gonna come down. Literally, the two matches against Houston last year just came down to who threw the first punch. I
yep,
mean, and the home teams did it both times. They both home teams went on long runs and they never looked back after.
yeah, this is insane. I really hope we see that there, and hopefully
Hmm.
we get to see part two in the championship game again in the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, not much else. Like here, obviously for men's basketball, that's going to be the main thing. I'm trying to think if anything else is going to be coming up for Iowa State athletics. Nothing off the top of my head right now. I would have to see. Just looking around here, but I mean, it's winter break. um, just continue to do things, and yeah.
Have you done anything fun or anything crazy?
Actually, oh, now I'm just seeing it. Yeah. So the other day, obviously, the ladies, like we didn't mention this on the previously, but the ladies in the past week they played against Utah. Unfortunately, they fell short against them. Utah was just shooting lights out from the perimeter. Like the defense, like Iowa State has not had the best like defensive year. I mean, we saw this against UConn. We now saw this against Utah. Teams can exploit our lack of like defense on the perimeter.
What do you
So
think? Do you think this is a result of the youth of this team, or do you think they just can't live up to the pressure of being ranked top 10? Or
I mean, there's still like the youth, obviously. I mean, the expect. I think the preseason ranking really threw off like our. I think threw off my expectations of the team because I mean, what I saw out of the youth, I was hoping like they grow and whatnot, like they would have grown from that first freshman year or whatever,
right?
and something just doesn't feel right. I mean, we still have not been able like. the team is like they're still young. I mean, we're talking a bunch of like sophomores and things like that, freshmen and sophomores and things like that. So still, like it's not the end of the world, but it has been a kind of disappointing to just see like the way the season has played out. Just giving up 23s against UConn. Well, like I mean, it's UConn, so that
Hmm.
that's a thing to think about. Like, so take that with a grain of salt because you're going against one of the top teams. I mean, that non-con schedule was by design. Taking on three of the Final Four teams last year, that was by design. But that means that you should be able to do much better in your conference schedule, and they haven't done that just yet. So, but I mean, accolade wise, Audie Crooks is the fastest woman in Iowa State history to reach 1,000 points. She reached that mark in 49 games versus Ashley Jones, who completed in 64 games. And currently, Audie Crooks is one of three sophomores to like is one of three players to have reached 1,000 points by their sophomore year. She joins the list. She joins Hannah Hidalgo of Notre Dame and Juju Watkins of USC to have reached the 1,000 point mark as sophomores.
Very, very nice.
Mm-hmm. So for the ladies, there's still a lot of season to go. I would like maybe my expectations have been hampered a little bit just because everything that's happened, but I'm just hopeful that they can right the ship.
Yeah.
Um, Still, I mean, there's a lot of Big 12 play to go, but being 1-2 in a very competitive Big 12. I mean, Kansas State, TCU, and Utah are all undefeated. And then Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Baylor, Arizona, and Arizona State are all 2-1. So Iowa State, if they want to really get to the tournament, they're gonna have to start winning games like now. They're gonna have to start winning.
The sense of urgency is there for the women. The men, let's hope that they can continue their stride and ascension into one of the top teams in the nation. So thank you guys for joining us on the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. We can be found on Twitter. I'm at Side Tie Guy, Cody at Matt Campbell Impersonator. We can be found on our five forms of social media on X, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So for Tyler Carter,
And for Cody Vancillo,
this is the Bleav in Iowa State podcast. Roll clones, baby.
let's go State.